toughest Tuesday of the season for us. Excited to be 1-0, and now it's on us to try to duplicate the process for this week. Want to recap last week. Want to first start by thanking the fans. I thought just an unbelievable atmosphere at Faroe Field on a Thursday night. The student section was unbelievable. They were loud. They were there early. They were pouring in as we were warming up. I thought when the game kicked, our stands were full, and that was just an awesome way for us to start fast. And so appreciate the fans and all that they did to create the environment, a winning environment. And then I just saw where the Hill is already sold out for this game, and excited about what we're working towards and hopefully extending the streak of sellouts. The game, I thought defensively we played very well with a fast start. Obviously we're always trying to create takeaways and be consistent at stopping the run. I thought we were consistently physical all night. Special teams, I thought Luke Bauer and Blake really did a nice job as the specialist. I thought Luke had his best game punting. Blake was good in both the field goals. We had the one kick out of bounds, but I thought they executed well. And then offensively, we started fast. I liked the being able to score points after the turnovers, but we do need to be more consistent in the throw game. The third downs that we missed were concerning for me. So there's plenty for us to work on, plenty for us to be concerned with that we need to correct, and we need to really do a good job. We're going to play a 1-0 Buffalo team led by, I think, one of the great program rebuilders and builders in Pete Limbo, who has done that at multiple stops, whether it was Elon, I believe it was Miami, Ohio. Does just an excellent job of building culture, evaluating talent, getting the most out of his players. Does an excellent job recruiting. He has a tremendous staff. I think their offensive coordinator's got a lot of experience at both Coastal Carolina, Georgia Tech, Old Dominion, and now at Buffalo. I've talked football with him several times when I was at NC State. I think he does a really good job utilizing tempo. He's got very good players. The quarterback played at SEMO 2 years ago when we played him, so there is some familiarity there. On the defensive side of the ball, they've got a tremendous scheme. They're very disciplined in what they do. They have a clear identity of who they are. They're going to stop the run and utilize their safeties in the run game and in the pass game. And then obviously Coach Limbo's fingerprints are all over the special teams. He's a tremendous special teams coordinator. Has always given us fits. Going against him, you can always expect the unexpected with Coach Limbo on that side. So, really got a tough challenge ahead of us, and looking forward to that challenge on Saturday. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Coach, you mentioned that this is not the first time you played against Buffalo's quarterback in 2021 against Southeast Missouri. He ran for almost 100 yards. How do you guys contain his rushing ability?
Yeah, it's going to be the challenge this week. Obviously, we've got to do a good job in the read game. They try to get on your edges through zone read, +1 run schemes, and option. So, we're going to have to be disciplined in multiple in the way we're challenging those read schemes.
I think you guys played more than 70 guys offensively or defensively. Were there any of those kids, especially maybe kids who were getting out there for the first time, that really caught your eye and might have earned a little longer look?
Honestly, I was impressed with the way all of our defense played from start to finish. I looked back up there at the last, I think it was, I know our freshman linebackers got 8 reps, and watching those reps, Jeremiah and Nick, I thought did an excellent job. We know Tracy Greco was playing at, both on special teams and in the secondary. So I think there was a lot of people that earned opportunities to continue to play and to find their way into the rotation. We've made some changes on the special teams depth chart to reflect that, to try to get those guys in the game this week. So we'll see how it plays out. You don't take anything for granted, but I've been really impressed with that freshman class.
Eli, you mentioned more consistency on third down in the passing game. How do you go about attacking it with those guys this week in practice?
Yeah, fundamentals. It starts with fundamentals: route depth, timing, quarterback feet, quarterback settings, feet when he makes throws. Not drifting after he throws the ball to get ready to go do a celebration. Like finish the throw, have your feet set in the pocket. You know, wide receivers gotta run their routes at the correct depth, they gotta explode out of them, the quarterback's gotta make the throws. So, just really things that we can do. It starts in routes versus air. We did that yesterday. And it's gonna continue in RVA today and in Skelly and in teams. So, you know, it's just back to the basics of execution and you know, kind of pushing the limits in practice. Don't practice just to practice, practice to improve. And, you know, that's really gonna be the message that I have with the skill guys.
What's the defense look like on some of those third and longs? Coach Gatun was trying out a 3-1-7 type setup. Just what does that do? Why does that work in those situations?
Yeah, it's a carryover from the package we've had in the past. And obviously, we've got some new fingerprints to it, but it's something that our guys are familiar with. It was the base third down package that we carried the past 2 years. And now Corey and the rest of the defensive staff have added, you know, kind of their fingerprints to it. It's a way to utilize the most speed and also versatility that we can get on the field also with our pass rush. So, yeah, that's what it was.
How important is it to have 3 corners out there that you trust when you're calling in that particular package?
Well, I mean, it allows you to play man-to-man and put somebody on the slot, which typically when you know, your slot ends up becoming the position that they match up on a safety who's not used to playing man-to-man quite as well. So, you know, for us, we slide Dalen back to the boundary safety and move Nick into that, or Toriano, I think, slid into the slot. So, yeah, it's something we did last year, Ennis slid into the slot. So, just something we've done before. Obviously, Coach Pope's done a really good job of training up those corners in order for us to have confidence in.
Coach, when did you know that you were gonna play the start about 2.5 quarters? Was it before the game, sometime during the game? What can we ideally expect for the starters this week?
To play the whole game. I mean, I didn't have any plan. I mean, I don't know what the opponent's gonna do. The opponent has a say in everything that we do, so I didn't go into the game without, we have a plan to win. Until the game is in hand, our starters are gonna play. So my anticipation is a really good Buffalo team. They scored 30-something points. Had 200 yards rushing, 200 yards passing. Would have been a lot worse, but they had, had 2 special teams miscues that allowed the other team back in the game. So my anticipation is that it's gonna be a dogfight, and we're gonna have to prepare that way. So, as far as, what ultimately led to the decision, at halftime, it was 35-0. And I felt like at that point, it wasn't, I'd seen what we needed to see out of Brady. And then didn't really wanna put, Theo was already kind of deemed up, so didn't wanna put him in any more jeopardy. And, Connor Tolleson, has had plenty of snaps, so there wasn't anything we needed to see out of those guys.
Coach, one of the units that saw a lot of guys play last week was the offensive line, especially with them getting some goal line reps. What are some things to maybe could see some areas of improvement heading into the future?
Well, we didn't sustain blocks as well as we wanted to on the outside zone. I don't think our counter scheme was as clean as we wanted it to as far as our kick out. I think we were light a little bit on our inside zone double teams. So there's plenty of opportunities for us to continue to improve. Specifically with those young guys, when we got down into inside the 10 and weren't able to score, running, inside zone behind, we had 2 guards in there that are 340 pounds apiece, and we were getting knocked back in the A gap, so that's gotta improve if we wanna have a shot against them.
Eli, in that first quarter alone, there was a lot of rotation in the front 7 specifically, even when you still had most of the starters in. Do you feel like you have enough diversity of skill set in that group to really just play players where they're best suited?
Are you talking about defensively?
Yeah, front 7 of the defense.
Yeah, the front 7 on the defense, we feel really good about the depth and the quality of depth that we have and the ability to keep guys fresh. And so I think that rotation is gonna continue because we just don't see a drop off. I mean, I think Corey Flagg might end up being our leading tackler in the game, and he doesn't play on third downs as of now and rotates. So, I think we feel really good about when Corey and Khalil come in with Chuck course, and then obviously in the D tackle room, with Christian, last year we played 4 guys really in the defensive tackle. This year we feel like we've got 6 with, the emergence of Marquise Graciel. Obviously Sterling has played a lot of football and really played well. Chris played well. Jalen Marshall's come in and played well, and Sam Williams has earned a spot too. I mean, he's done a really good job going against our guys. So we feel like we've got 6 guys that can really play at a high level in that room, and that's only an advantage for us as we prepare, for this week's opponent moving forward.
Well, when did it really become apparent to you that Blake Craig was the guy that was going to succeed House?
Last year in fall camp when Harrison wasn't kicking as well as we wanted him to, so I put Blake with the ones just to send a message that there is no secured positions. And we had to do that with Blake this year in fall camp. There was a couple days where he wasn't kicking as good as we learned him to, so we put Nick in there. So I mean, at the end of the day, every position's up for grabs and competition. I mean, you see that throughout college football. There's no sure things. So if you're not producing, then next guy's got to be ready. And that's the always compete mindset that our program's built on. So if you're not at your best, somebody else in the building is, and they're gonna take your spot.
Coach, you
Couple
might,
days to digest now. Talking with Brady and maybe Chuck on defense too, how do you think you guys utilize the helmet communication, tablets on the sideline as well? How was that in game 1, and what would you guys like to do moving forward with that?
Yeah, it was fine. I thought we utilized them well, utilized them to our advantage, utilized the headset communication system well. I don't know that we'll change anything really.
Coach, you mentioned that Brad Norfleet and Theo Reese were more precautionary not to play in the second half after the game. What have you seen from or have they been practicing, and what can we expect for Saturday?
Yeah, I think those are great questions. The SEC has issued a new injury protocol. We're gonna start following that. I think we started on Wednesday, so we'll update our injury reports on Wednesday, and then you'll get a Wednesday update, a Thursday update, a Friday update, a Saturday morning update. So if you're not a gambler, it'll help you. It could be kind of boring. If you are a gambler, you can really watch that money line.
Can you explain the importance of rebuilding and investing in the offensive line?
Rebuilding and investing in it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in order for you to be good offensively, you're gonna have to have 5 guys working cohesively as a unit. They have to do probably the toughest job in college football, in my opinion, because they have to be able to move immovable objects, and then they have to be able to work backwards and protect a quarterback versus somebody who is, by evaluation, quicker, faster, and more sudden than they are. And that's a really, really difficult challenge. And then they have to be selfless. It can't be about them. It's got to be about the team and everybody else, and they got to kind of work together. So it's a really important part of any successful football team. I don't think there's ever been a successful football team that didn't have 5 selfless men, and really it usually ends up being 7 to 8 that you have to play throughout the year. So for us, I'm a former offensive line coach, GA. That's always going to be a position of emphasis for us. I think, in order for you to have success in this league, you have to have an O-line and D-line that is competitive and has got the prerequisite size. And so for us, when we lost Jalen Marshall, when we lost Javon Foster and Xavier Delgado, who combined, had almost 40 starts, I think. Just both guys Mr. Consistent. We knew that left side was going to be really important for us to fix and provide competition. So we went out and looked for what was best available in the portal, and we're able to get them. So.
Eli, the play that Luther fumbled on
Bulldog.
Thursday. Okay.
Bulldog.
Yeah. Was that a handoff? Some people said it looked like a pop pass, and did some get messed up in the execution, or was that a challengeable thing if you thought it was a pop pass?
So I asked him, because we thought it was the way the play is originally designed, it is supposed to be a pitch, so that if that was to occur, it would be an incomplete pass. But after reviewing the tape, there was Luther went through the hands of the quarterback instead of the necessary 1 yard in front. So based on what I was asking the official if they were gonna review it, and they cleared it in the booth. That's the process. We asked, hey, are they gonna look at it? And if he says they're gonna clear it, that means you either have to challenge, but they didn't see anything in the booth. But when you watch it, you know, it would be really hard to decipher, because the way he went through his hands, you wouldn't be able to see whether or not he pitched it or not. And there is no such thing as control, because it's a backwards snap. So at that process, everything's a fumble until the ball is controlled and then pushed forward. So I don't think it would have been overturned.
Coach, Buffalo's got the reigning MAC Defensive Player of the Week on the team, Sean Devine. Seemed to be everywhere for them last week. How do you neutralize a player like him?
Yeah, really good player, guy that pops all over the tape, was injured last year, I know was an all-conference player of the year before. I think led their team in tackles and was really high up there in the country. You can tell he studies tape. You can tell he's very smart, physical player at the point of contact. They utilize him in the box, out of the box. They pressure with him, so he's a really good player. It's gonna be a real challenge for us. He's consistent with what you see in our league, so, you know, he's a guy that, as we work off combo blocks, we're gonna have to make sure we can get to him, otherwise he'll make the tackle, and we're gonna have to know where he is in pass coverage, and not make a mistake with the ball, because he's got really good hands.
Coach Cody Flagg, what was your pitch to him after Coach Baker left, and just to keep him bought in and wanted to be part of this program?
Yeah, honestly, there really wasn't a pitch. He chose his place. Coach Baker had a lot to do with it, obviously with the previous relationship and knowing the scheme, but you know, he chose his place for the guys in the locker room, and has reiterated that throughout the process, that this was a place for him and his brother because of the men in the locker room. And obviously we kept the scheme very similar with Coach Platoon, so he had familiarity with the calls.
From the coaching staff perspective, how does it work when a player comes in and then he says, here's my brother, and his brother ends up coming over too? How does that happen?
They say, I have a brother, he's a really good player, would you watch his tape? I would watch his tape and say, he's a really good player, would you like to come here? And they go, yeah, we would like for him to come here. And we would say, okay, well, he can come here.
Anything
Coach, you
else for
mentioned
Coach?
last week that scouting for Murray State was very difficult because of 60 new players, new scheme. Is this week any easier with you knowing Pete Runbo personally and having tape from week 1 to look back on?
It's a little bit easier because you have all their players on tape with a week 1 game that went 4 quarters, so you're able to assess personnel. You know, there's still a lot of question marks related to scheme. Their defensive coordinator, you know, was a part of a staff, but has not called defenses before, so you're not quite sure exactly what his DNA is, because you don't see but 1 game. There's not a consistent approach to it, so that's been challenging. You go back and make the best guesses that you can based off his training. You know, special teams, I feel pretty good about knowing, you know, some of the things that he can do. It's just a matter of when he's gonna do it. Offensively, you know, Coach did not call plays last year, so he's been a year removed. You know, we've gone back and watched him at different areas, at different spots to kind of see, okay, this matches more. You know, they're running a lot more tempo, which reminds us more of his time at Coastal, than say at Georgia Tech, where they were not as much tempo and more ball control. So, you know, again, we're gonna have to utilize our coaching ability. We're gonna have to utilize the iPads in game to figure out how exactly their plan to attack us is in both phases. But we have a little bit better idea of what the personnel is. And at the end of the day, you know, schemes are important and they're part of it. But at the end of the day, it's a people-based game. So we gotta win our one-on-ones. We gotta attack defensive weaknesses, offensive weaknesses based on personnel too, and try to isolate the mismatches. And I think teams that can figure that out the quickest usually have the most success.
You know, I think there were 4 or 5 60-point games in the league last year. Last week, half the league won by at least 48. Do you think that there's a different approach with the expanded playoff and stuff? Do you think, you know, margin of victory, things like that, come into play and matter early in the season?
No, I think, my take on it is twofold. I think one, with the ability of the portal to take top tier talent from lower classes, lower divisions, I think you're seeing some of that result. I think some of the schools that in the past would have had, have developed some of those players, no longer have those guys. They're playing out at different schools. And then I think the next thing you're seeing is, the need for us as coaches to see as many guys play as possible, as long as possible. And so, I saw where Coach Kiffin talked about that he didn't even consider reducing the quarters, and I'm with him 100%. I mean, we gotta have our guys play, and we've gotta get as many quality reps, because that's how you develop, and so I think you're seeing guys who need to let their twos and threes play and play at a high level. When you play to win the game, you play to score, you play to stop people, and you wanna see them compete at the very best. So I think those two factors are gonna lend to some of the mismatches, on the field. But that wasn't the whole story. I mean, there's other schools that, go toe to toe, there's some games out west that, games were in doubt in the fourth quarter. So, every game's a little bit different, but I do think some of that in our conference is the ability for us to attract some of the top end talent from the lower divisions.
Has your approach changed at all with what happened to Florida State in the playoff last year in regards to using starters in some of these, not early games, but non-con games?
No, I haven't. I don't even know what you're referring to, honestly.
When their quarterback went down and.
I mean, that's football, and you can't control that stuff, so there's no like master plan, or there's nothing like that. We plan to win the game when the game's in doubt. For us, I'd seen what we needed to see out of Brady, but what I haven't seen Drew Pine play, in a crowd, in a stadium, and needed to see him operate with, a lot of guys that if he's called upon with the ones, he's gonna have to be able to work with, and there's only so many reps you can get in practice like that. So, for us, it was about doing that. And really the same thing on defense. Like, as these games get going, weeks 7 through 12, it's about the competitive depth that you have in order to win. And that competitive depth may show up on special teams units, it may show up, on third down, packages. It may show up on first and second down. I mean, Crud, last year we played, really the first 5 games, with 3 linebackers, just because we didn't have a lot of quality depth. And then we were when Hop got hurt, we were forced into really just 2. We had 2 linebackers last year, that played, and that just can't happen if you wanna play a long time. So for us, it's about